Hey YouTube, so today we're going to be talking about Shiny Gators. These were the first expensive species that I got, and the first species I had was a panda and then a rubber ducky. So when I got these, the Shiny Gators, I was surprised at how small they are. So just know that they are pretty small, but they've been pretty easy, their care. So I, for some reason, had them in a larger enclosure, but I moved into this smaller enclosure, put a bunch more leaves, and then just kind of let it be. And they started breeding more and more. There's a little shiny gator right there. So they are pretty cool. That's the main reason I got them. Like, I really like the bumps. This is kind of like, I guess, an intro into a spiky, quote unquote, spiky species. It's not really spiky, it's more so bumpy. Yeah, so they do burrow, so a little bit, so there's a little bit of substrate. There's not too much of a mossy zone, as you can see, just a small portion. And then I miss that every maybe 5 days or so, not too often. And then once again, one of my typical acrylic enclosures, so there's ventilation all the way around. In some of the enclosures, I've been closing all of this off, and then to help keep the moisture, the humidity, higher in this area, the mossy area. And then the top, once again, I close this off with a piece of acrylic. You can see that. So, smaller hole on the mossy side, larger holes, and the non-mossy side. So, kind of like wet zone, dry zone. And then if we look inside, so pretty simple. Once again, substrate is deep but not crazy deep. And then I think that having this cork bark the entire length has been really good, because they really they scurry a lot and they really like to hide, and they kind of like that, the cavernous of the underside of this. You'll see. Let's go ahead and do a flip. You can see them all scurry away. But yeah, I would say that my Shiny Gators actually are pretty big. I don't know, because when I first got them, and even the little babies, they're super small. Like, you can see, they get really, really, really small. And then I have some adults that are like the size of some of my duckies, but I have giant adult duckies that are bigger than the gators. But yeah, I have some adult gators that are about the size of a normal ducky. Yeah, there's the duckies, there's the Shiny Gators. Once again, you can see they kind of like this cork bark because of the cavernous areas. So they like hiding there. And then they really like this orchid leaf. And then you can see, get this on, it's just a covering of leaves. It's pretty simple. Once again, not too much moss, a lot of leaves. They eat at the leaf. 1 second. See if I can do this. All right. And then zoom in. Sorry. All right. So, trying to zoom in and see if you can see some of the leaves that we're eating away at. But yeah, you can see, look at that orchid leaf. Whatever kind of leaf that is, they eat away at this. This is like their third leaf in 2 weeks maybe, or fourth leaf. They just devour it. It's really cool. I actually leave the leaf out, and then like this, and then you can see them. They'll start congregating on the leaf and eating away at it. I mean, not now because I just did that, but yeah, so anyway, that's the Shiny Gators. Once again, pretty simple. You do want somewhat of deep substrate, but not too deep, because they do burrow. And then, just lots of leaves. And then you do want somewhat of a mossy area, for the humidity once again. But I don't, missed it too much. And then I do give them some fish flake, and they do eat that. I have some video of that. Maybe I'll put some at the end, some B-roll. of them eating the fish flake, and then, you know, a little bit of the cuttle bone so they can have their calcium. But yeah, there's a shiny gator right there on the moss. So I would say that the mossy area, once I spray it, there's like a lot more babies that pop out of the mossy area. Yeah, it's kind of fun to just like watch them scurry around. So, you know, once again, they aren't out and about too much. They do like hiding, and then they are small, so they don't need as big of a space. Like, I have a good amount of them in here, and this 10 by 6 by 6 has been plenty fine for them. And then yeah, if you get multiple cork barks or one cork bark to kind of take up the entire space, it's probably good. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions down below. I would say the shiny gators, you know, they do take a while to breed, so don't be discouraged. Just patience. I started out with 10, you know, starting out with 6, probably fine as well. It just will take a while. And, you know, something that people don't think about is that you can always add more. So, you know, people, for these more expensive pods, you know, generally 5 counts are sold or 6 counts. And people get nervous about that. They're like, well, I don't know, because I would like more. And I, you know, get that. But with the smaller counts, you're still going to get them breeding. You know, once again, it just might take longer, but it's not going to take that much longer as if you had like a 10 count. So, you know, 6 is fine. Just, oh, wait, you can see one of the big ones. Yeah, see how big this guy is? Like, that's like a normal sized pod. Like, that's about the size of a rubber ducky. A normal rubber ducky. Yeah, mine have gotten to be pretty big. Because these are supposed to be a dwarf species. And not mine. Not my adults. But yeah, the babies, I mean, the babies are pretty small. Sorry, got off on a tangent. But anyway, going back to, you know, having 6 or a lower count, it's just time. You know, just let them be, enjoy them from afar. That's kind of what the nice thing about having these acrylic enclosures is. Like, you can see all the way around. You know, I have this set up. You can set up your food dish. You can set up your leaf that they'll come and eat on, so you can enjoy looking at them. And that way you're not necessarily disturbing them. Because I know it's hard not to disturb the pods, but, you know, if you want them to get breeding, you can't disturb them as much as you'd like. So, yeah, I started out with 10. Oh, yeah, sorry, I remember where I was going. So, something people forget that they can do or don't realize or don't think about is you can always add more later, right? You can do 6, and then when you get money, you can do 6 more or 10 more. And it's also kind of good to maybe get from other people as well. So, like, get stuff from one person, you know, and then maybe get a 6 count from another person later on, because that way you have different lines breeding. That, you know, that way they're not like all from the same line breeding constantly, but you're introducing new blood. You know, it's good to introduce new blood every now and then. So, you know, maybe you can only get 6 or so now, but in the future, maybe you could do 6 more. And then from someone else, you know, share the love. I'm trying to get a close-up of him. So, yeah, let me, yeah. See, they're kind of cool. I mean, they're not kind of cool, they are cool. But you can see that they're not really actively roaming about. They're just chilling. But, you know, they will scurry. So, like, you know, we moved the cork bark and you can see them all scurrying because they're like, I want to hide. I'm a fraidy cat, which is fine. Yeah, so I'll play some B-roll now of them eating some fish flake just to watch that. But these are Shiny Gators, and as you can see, their setup isn't that bad. Oh, and then this is just a rock. They kind of go on the rock, not too much, but they'll go at the base of the rock like this guy did, right? Let's see if I can get better. Kind of. Alright. Well, that's that. Well, thanks for watching, and once again, any questions, comment down below. I'll try to answer them. And thanks for watching.